Hey guys, coming at you from the park bench up here with my apparently very messy hair as I look at myself on the screen right now. But I'm getting it cut though today, or tomorrow, hopefully. So you don't have to worry about it. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about some things I've been thinking about. Just want to get across to you, and I try to respect all you guys, you adult leaders and youth partners that we have. I try and respect your time and not call meetings for things as much, but and try and catch you one-on-one. But I think it's a good way to communicate to you rather than doing email and stuff. Some things I'd rather verbally say to you guys than do email and writing and texting about. But if you're watching this and you're one of our youth partners, that's why I like calling. I'd rather call you a youth partner. I like that term a lot better than youth sponsor. I think that sponsor just kind of sends a wrong message. So I like calling you guys youth partners because we are all partnering together for one thing and being able to reach out to the teens for the sake of Christ. But there's one thing I want to get across from you is if you're watching this, then you may not necessarily be a small group leader on Wednesday night for our youth group, but I just want everybody to be on the same page, whether you do that or not, whether you're interested or not. But I just want everybody to hear the same thing so we know where we're at. Just a couple things I wanted to get across to you. Number one, as you guys know, or some of you guys know that are part on Wednesday nights, we typically get together and we do some fun stuff and you make announcements and that kind of thing, and then myself or whoever the case may be, but usually it's myself. I give a talk for about 30 minutes or so, 20 to 30, 35 minutes, and then we break and do small groups as well as do some song time. But we break into small groups and we go for some questions that have been prepared about what we talked about in the main session, and it's just a good chance for the kids to give feedback. And the point of that is the big thing for me in the point of doing small groups at that time and discussion groups, is that gives the kids a chance to do the talking rather than another adult. So the main thing, the biggest thing for me with that is avoid the temptation. Here's like, if you're taking notes kind of person, here's where it would be, fill in the blank kind of thing. Avoid the temptation to preach. Small group time afterwards, discussion group time, whatever we call it, is not another time for the adult to preach the lesson over again. This is the way I want for it to work is that this is a time for the kids to talk and this is time for the adult to listen, just to ask the questions, to facilitate. And sometimes I know it's hard to avoid that temptation, and if you guys have been there, my group, I try not to talk. Of course you can't avoid it because sometimes the kids are just silent, but and you kind of need to get the ball rolling, but just really avoid the temptation to do all the preaching and teaching over again, because I want this. The idea is that during talk time, I make it very interactive, and I let them ask questions, and I ask them questions and let them respond to that, and we try and keep it. We try, but our kids are who they are, and it's hard for them to keep quiet when it's not their turn. But the idea is that this time during the 30 minutes or so when I'm up there talking, that they would listen when it's their time to listen. And if I ask them to talk, they can talk. But the idea is that they would remain quiet then, and then small group time, that's their time to talk. That's their time to put their input in, and so that's what we want to foster. That so avoid the temptation to preach. Another pointer about that, maybe number 2, if we want to call it that. It's okay to be silent. A lot of people I know have a problem with silence. Moments of silence in a room with you've asked a question and nobody's answering. It's I know that some people are you can't handle a question or silence like that, but it's okay. Ask a question if nobody's answering for a few seconds. Just repeat the question and let it go. If moments of silence aren't the death of anything. Sometimes just kids do need time to think, and sometimes their minds wandered off to some other place. But we want to give them time to think and really respond. And it's okay to share your stories. Share your answers to those questions, but just don't dominate the time. That's a big thing. Don't dominate the time. Number 3. No real order to these, by the way, just as I'm thinking of them. Please, I'm trying to do a thing here, which is just one of those obvious things, that we sometimes just don't do very well. So I'm really trying to make a concerted effort to put prayer in front of the kids. I've always hated the idea, prayer is just, as far as church is concerned and church services, that prayer is just a transition time. It's like, okay, we have to pray so the band can get off the stage, and that's why we pray. And of course, that's not why we pray, but it can be appeared that way sometimes. Like, okay, we pray just because it's the last thing we did, so you're supposed to pray, and so we don't want to do that. But just try and put prayer in front of them. When opening in prayer is good, and asking the Spirit to really be there and be involved and let the kids, be responsive. And if you feel the need to pray in the middle of it, somebody, share something, and one question hits a kid a certain way, and they maybe open up more so, and something goes on, just stop. Feel free to take a moment right there and pray with them, and just do that. Try and keep prayer in front of them. 4, not necessarily a small group oriented thing, but for those of you who are here on Wednesday nights, and I mentioned to you here this past Wednesday, and right now for me this is Thursday, whenever you happen to watch this, for me it's on Thursday afternoon right now, but please sit with the kids on Wednesdays when we get winding up to the talk time and everything. Just take the effort to go actually sit with the kids, and rather than sitting in the back, 'cause I don't like the idea of just the adults sit in the back, then the kids sit up front, and the kids. I know you guys aren't meaning it that way, and nobody ever means it that way, but I don't ever want for a kid to think, those adults are just here to watch me, or they don't really care. They're just kind of in the back. But just sit with them. That speaks volumes, and I know you guys love the kids, and that's why you're here, and that's awesome. And just sitting with them really speaks a lot to them. It just says that they value me, and they see me not necessarily as a peer, but as somebody that they can be with, and it's not drudgery to sit with a kid, and that that helps out with that, and the kids feel more welcome that way. And consequently, and of course we need it, that helps us crowd control. It helps to keep them quiet. If kids are kind of getting out of line and talking out of turn, you can be there rather than yelling from the back, or having me having to kind of stop everything up front and address that. You can just kind of tap them on the shoulder and be there. So sitting with the kids is fundamental. It's huge for me. It's a big thing. So sit with the kids. Lastly, not a point. It's not number 5 or anything, but if you're interested, I have some awesome resources on small group leading and discussion group leadings. I know some of you guys, beyond just our Wednesday night small group and discussion groups, we're starting our teen port groups here this month, which we're going to be meeting once a month with the kids. And I have the middle school guys. I'm going to be meeting with them, the guys that want to do it, and they're signing up, and we're just going to meet once a month and go hang out, go do some fun stuff and spend some time together, so we can so it gives me a chance to invest into those kids on a smaller scale, and so when we can do that, and as a youth group and as churches grow larger, you have to grow smaller in size and have smaller groups. That's why we're doing port groups across the board, because those are so important. And but for that, and just for small group discussion leading and just how to deal with kids and stuff, I have some awesome resources. I have a book called Life to Life Discipleship that I bought 10 of, just for this kind of thing for you guys to have. I mean, you're more than welcome to have it, and you don't have to return or anything, but it's got some real solid stuff, and it's simple, real thin kind of book, and has some chapter by chapter, so it doesn't have to be like a whole solid read. Just breaks down topics into chapter and does a real good job with it. But a guy named Kevin Greer, who was in charge of discipleship stuff for CIY for years, and now he's a youth ministry professor at Ozark Christian College, so that's an awesome resource, and so I encourage you to take advantage of that. And of course, if you ever have any questions, let me know, and I love talking with you guys. These kids, I love them. I always see them as my kids, and I want to give them the best we can, and be able to encourage them and show them the love of Christ. And the last thing I want to say is just my vision for these kids. I put a statement on my wall. It's just something I've really thought about and prayed about, and I kind of got down, asked myself the question, like, why? The whole why. I love asking why. Why do we exist, and what am I doing? What is it I'm trying to get? If essentially, like, if I graduated a kid out of youth group and said, what do I want that kid to look like? What things do I want them to have learned from me as far as what I was able to do and channeling Christ into their lives? I want a kid, if we have a goal, if there's like a perfect kid, I want a kid is at the point where that kid is motivated by the love of Christ to serve in the name of Christ. And that's it. I want a kid that's motivated by the love of Christ to serve in the name of Christ. And so if we can all partner together to do that, and then we're doing awesome stuff, and we're doing what God's called us to do. So thank you guys so much for doing all that you do, and for being a part of this youth ministry, and for being a youth partner. I can't do it without you guys. I love you guys, and thank you very much. And I can't thank you enough. So I'll see you guys later, and hope you're having a fantastic and superb day. I will see you. After editing that, I realized I don't smile very much when I talk. Plus, the sun was in my eyes, so I wanted to give you a smile.